In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this three-dimensional room using 3D layers in After Effects. And where I'm going to start is I'm going to start talking about the artwork for this. And so this artwork was created actually in Adobe Illustrator. And the reason why is because the walls and all the surfaces are flat. I haven't painted any texture. If I needed to paint texture, I would have gone and painted this in Adobe Photoshop. Okay, but you know, as you can see, it doesn't. From our little animation you saw there, it didn't look bad, and that's because of the lighting. Once you start adding lights and shadows to your creation in After Effects, a flat wall has a lot more dimension. Okay, so let's go through what I've created here. I've created 8 different surfaces here, starting with the ceiling. And I'm going to turn the ceiling off, as you can see there. We have a short wall with a picture on it. We have a short wall with a window. Then we've got a wall with a window. And then we've got a door. And then we've got the wall with the door. And then we got the floor. Okay? And so those are all the layers I have to create this room. Now, if I had multiple rooms, I would have many more layers. Okay? So let's continue on here. And let's go back into After Effects. And we're going to start a new project. So I'm going to go New Project. First, I'm going to create a composition. So I'm going to go New Composition. And our composition could be any size, depending on what the output looks like. And for this, I'm using a social media landscape 1920 by 1080. Okay. And also, my composition, instead of having a black background or a white background, I chose a medium royal blue. Okay. And so I just actually picked the color here, and then it actually named it for me. All right. So let's go over to our project window, and I'm just going to double click with my mouse. And that allows me to actually open up where I find the file I need to import, okay? And so you don't really always have to go to Command-I to bring in files. So let me click on the room first. I'm going to double click. I'm just going to click on it. And we're going to change Import As to Composition Retain Layer Sizes. And by the way, my room, this AI file, is sitting inside a folder called 3D Room. Okay, and there's my first After Effects animation there. So let me bring the room now into the timeline, and then I'm going to double click it, and now we can see all the layers. And for this right now, their composition's black, but we can change the composition later if we need to. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on this little box here that shows the 3D box, and we're going to turn all these layers into 3D layers. The second thing we're going to do is where it says one view here, we're going to go to 2 views. Okay? And this window, this right window here, I want to look at the top view. And the problem is the top view is not the top view of it right now, because we're seeing everything from the side. But I need the top view to actually look like this. So if I was to click all these layers and go and rotate them, let's say we rotate them up this way at negative 90, notice what happens. They all get repositioned, okay? And that's not what I want. That's not going to be very helpful, because it's going to take much longer to position everything and rotate all the surfaces so they align. So I'm going to undo that. And what I'm going to do this time, and this is the best way to do this, is I'm going to click all the other layers. I'm going to click on one layer here and hold down my shift key and go all the way up to the ceiling layer. So I'm going to click these layers here, and I'm going to go to the parent pick whip and parent it to my floor layer. Okay? Then I'm just going to select my floor layer and come over here, and then we're going to rotate this thing negative 90. And the reason I'm doing negative 90 is because, and as we get close to 90 here, you can actually just hold down the shift key, click on 90. It's because I want this layout to be the same as I had in Illustrator where the door is up here, okay? So now this is positioned very well. If we want to, we could actually drag this down a little bit here. Okay. Now we haven't created a camera yet. We will in a moment. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and select all these layers here. The wall from layer 1 through 6. And we're going to unparent it to the floor. Okay? So now they're not parented to anything. But I'm going to parent the door layer. And I'm going to click on the door layer and take the parent pick whip and pull it and drag it down to the wall with the door. So now when I rotate the wall with the door will rotate with it. Now, if I rotate this wall, the problem is it rotates it out away from the floor, okay? And that's not what I want. So what we need to do is actually move using the pan from behind tool. Pan behind, it changes where the anchor point's located. And then we got to drag over this until we see XYZ. All right? You don't want to hit, so you have to wait until you see XYZ. So move your mouse or your pen just a little bit until you see that. And then we drag this down to the corner here where this wall is meeting the floor. Actually, that's the ceiling, but we're going to raise the ceiling later, okay? Now, we go and get our selection tool. V is a keyboard shortcut, actually. And we're going to change the x-axis to 90 degrees. And as we get close to 90, we just hold down the shift key and it'll go up for us. All right, that looks great. Now, let's go to the wall with the window, and we're going to scroll out here a little bit in this right window here, where we're looking at the top view. And I'm going to come in here again. I'm going to zoom in. I'm using my scrolling wheel on my mouse to quickly zoom in here. And I'm going to change the anchor point position again. And Y is a keyboard shortcut for the pan from behind tool. That saves a little bit of time, so I don't have to go all the way up there to it every time to change that out. And then we're just going to move this up until it meets where that wall meets the floor. Well, actually, it's the ceiling, as I said. Then we get our selection tool, which is the V key, and we're going to rotate this negative 90. Okay, I held down my shift key so it clicks into place. Now we got two sides, two walls raised, and what I want to do is, we'll zoom out just a little bit here, is now I'm going to create my camera. So let's go up to the ceiling layer here, and we're going to go, click on the ceiling layer so I can go and click new layer, new, and we're going to go to new camera. And it's set for 15 millimeter, but we're going to change it to 35 for the moment. I'm going to leave it as a one node. Okay. And then as you can see, here's the camera position here. And we're going to move it inside the room. Okay. And then we're going to move it to one wall here. And when I'm moving it, I wait till I see the XYZ. So it'll move the entire camera. And then I'm going to rotate the Y-axis on this so we can look down this way. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this top view here. And we're going to click on this wall. It's a short wall with the window. There we go. And again, we're going to get our pan from behind tool. Y is the keyboard shortcut. We're going to move our mouse over here to see XYZ and then move this anchor point to where that wall and the floor meet. Then we get our selection tool, which is V is the keyboard shortcut. And then I'm going to get the Y-axis, and we're going to rotate this and raise this so it is negative 90. Okay? There we go. And that looks good. Now, we might want to bring the wall in just a little bit, because sometimes when I start creating lights, like I'm going to create a spotlight and everything, sometimes you can see a little light coming through that corner. So if we bring that wall in a little bit more, there's less of a chance of us seeing between the corners here, okay, between these two walls. Okay, that looks pretty decent. I like that. Now let's zoom out on this view right here. Over here in my right window. Let's go and get my camera. Click on the camera layer. We're going to drag the camera all the way to the opposite side of the room and then change the y-axis again. And we're just rotating that like this. So now I can raise this wall here, and we'll zoom in on it. And then let's get the pan from behind tool. Y is a keyboard shortcut. Wait until I see X, Y, and Z. Come on. I haven't seen it yet. Sometimes it gets a little hard. There it goes. Now I'm going to drag this to here where the floor and the wall meet. And then I'm going to go and get my selection tool and change the y-axis to 90. There we go. And as I said, I might just drag this in just a little bit. Okay. Now, I haven't raised the ceiling yet, so let's go and change in this window, this right window where we're seeing the top view. Let's go and change it to front view. And let's click on the ceiling layer. And now we're just going to raise that ceiling up. And now I've created my room. Okay? And so the next thing we're going to do to make this look interesting, because everything looks very flat, is we're going to create lights. So the first light I'm going to create, and we're going to be up on the ceiling layer here, okay? We're going to create a new ambient light. So go to new, light. We're going to go to ambient. And this ambient light, I want to make it more orangish, yellow, something maybe more like this. The intensity I'm going to bring down to maybe, I don't know, 55 perhaps. We'll see what this looks like. And then I'm going to click OK, and that just changes the look of the entire room there. So it makes it a little darker. If I'm not happy with the color or anything, we can go back in here again. Maybe I'll warm it up just a little bit more. And it's very subtle variation. But right now, so this is the ambient light. Next thing I want to do is add a spotlight to this, okay? So we're going to go to Layer, New, and create a new light. And this light's going to be a spotlight. And we're going to change the color of this spotlight to where it's a little cooler and a little brighter here. And the intensity we're going to bring up to, I don't know, it could be 90 or maybe 95. I don't know. I'll bring it up to 91 at least. Now, this is very important down here. We want to check this box where it says cast shadows. We want to make sure that's checked. If it's not checked, there's another place to change that, okay? Because we want this light to cast shadows, okay? The darkness will be 100%, and the diffusion, I set it at 15. You can set that less or more. It just depends. What this means is that the farther away the shadow is from the object that's casting it, then the more diffused it is. So that means that the shadow gets fuzzy, just like in reality, because there's no sharp lines in cast shadows. Okay, so let's click OK, and there we go. We got a light coming in the window, but it doesn't look like it's really in the window yet, because what we got to do is we're going to have to go down here, and I'm going to change the material settings for each of these layers, and it takes a moment. We'll start with the floor, so we'll click on the floor layer. We'll come over to this little arrow so we can toggle our view of this so we can see material options, and then we're going to change this so we click on cast shadow on, and I don't want this thing to be too metallic, so we'll do it maybe at 7% so it has just a tiny bit sheen. Okay, and then we're going to do this for each layer. So we got to go to the arrow so we can toggle the view. We're going to click on cast shadows, turns that on. Metal will turn to 7% and click return, and then close that layer, and then go up to the door layer and do the same thing just over and over again. I tried to do this with the parent pick whip, but it just didn't work, so that's why I'm going through and changing each one of these things. Okay. Then we got the wall with the window, and this time, watch what happens when I click on this. Boom! Now that's casting a shadow. See, and the reason I'm doing this to all of them is in case I move the spotlight. We can move the spotlight during the animation. Okay, click this down to 7. Hit return. Then we've got a short wall with a window. Maybe we might want a spotlight coming through that at one point in time. That's why I changed this all, okay? And I'm keeping the metal the same consistency throughout, because this will give off just a tiny bit of a sheen versus something more metallic. Okay, there we go. And we'll do the last one, which is the ceiling layer. Cast shadows on, and then metal down to 7. Hit return. Now, as I said before, when I was creating the spotlight, you need to check the cast shadow. But in case you didn't, in case you create a light and you forget to click the cast shadow option there, you could go here and do it. Okay. Now, when I turn it off, as you can see, it changes everything. That's why you have to have a cast shadows on your spotlight, and they need to be turned on for each layer too, okay? And so this looks pretty cool. I like the way this looks. Now, if we want to, we can move our spotlight over a little bit. And we can also rotate it just a tiny bit. And I'm just playing around with this for a moment here. Let's go to top view here. And I'm trying to get this to rotate just a little bit. There we go. Maybe that will do it. And if we need to, I'm going to go back to front view here. We can always hit the R button so we can rotate the, let's see about changing the x-axis. I'm just playing around here until I get something more of what I'm looking for. All right, let's change this x-axis so it goes down, and we'll raise this up a little bit more. There we go. All right, and as you can see the light coming through the cracks there, and that's because this wall could be moved over a little bit more. Let's take the wall with the window, this wall here, and let's go to top view here, and we'll just bring in just a little bit more, hopefully, because if we overlap these things, it may do a better job here, okay? And you still got a little bit of a view there, but one thing I want to talk about right now is, and we're talking about views, is if you go and look over here, we got this is set at 25% right now. This is set for a third. Now, if we go to full, it's going to render it out at 100%, and it's so sharp and crisp. Everything looks great. The problem is when we begin moving our camera and moving things, then things slow down. So that's, you'll want to render out your video at full, but right now we're going to change this down to a third. So and that looks a little odd, as you can see, but you saw what it looks like when we're seeing it at full resolution. We're seeing this at a third of the resolution, and we get this little light right here, which is not going to be seen when we render it out at full. So next thing I want to do is I want to move my camera and start to animate this, okay? So let's move our camera up against the wall here. And we'll rotate it so we're looking out the window a bit right here. Now, we could always, I like this right here. This angle's not a bad angle. And let's go to front view to see where the camera's located. If we want to, we can bring the camera down a little bit more like that. Okay, we'll go back to top view for our right window. And first thing I would do is we're going to, for position, I'm going to click the stopwatch. And then I'm going to move my timeout indicator forward, maybe to, I don't know, 4 seconds, let's say here. And then let's just move our camera. That's the spotlight. Sorry about that. I meant to be on my camera layer. My camera layer, we're going to hit the P key. And then we moved our timeout indicator to the beginning again, and we'll click the stopwatch. And now we're going to move this. Let's say we'll do it at 4 seconds, and we're going to move the camera forward a little bit. It could be at a slight angle, okay? And so now we're seeing something like this, which is okay, all right? It's not exactly what I was looking for. Let's change the camera. I'm going to double-click the camera, and let's change it to a 20 millimeter, and now we can see more of the room, okay? All right, now, if I wanted to rotate the camera as it's coming up to the corner, you would not want to try using the y-axis on the position. And what I mean by that is typically I would try this, but if we move our timeout indicator back, you see what happens. You know, I don't mind the look of that. That's cool, but again, I wanted to be able to see the other wall to begin with, like this. So, what we're going to have to do is, I'm going to move my timeout indicator forward again, and you see, whenever I change that y-axis, it stays. You know, we can't put a keyframe in for that. But let's move our timeout indicator back to the beginning again. We're going to click Shift-R, okay? And we're going to change the rotation of this. And we're going to do and let's click on and see what this little green circle and the green dot is, the y-axis. So let's click the stopwatch on the y-axis, and then let's go drag ahead to 4 seconds. And when it gets there, it's going to rotate around like this. Okay, so now let's see what this looks like. And see, I learned that the hard way, about having to change the rotation separately from the position. Okay, so now let's move our timeout indicator up to maybe 7, and I'm going to rotate a little bit more in, and let's move the camera in just a little bit, maybe right there, and I'll rotate just a little bit more. So I'm changing the rotation just a little bit more. So now, when we play this, this is what is occurring. So let me save this. I haven't saved it yet, and the reason I'm saving it is because it crashed on me, and I have a saved version already. But let's go to Save As, and we'll name this 3D Room 2. Okay. And the reason why is because last time I was starting to show how to rotate the door to open the door, and it crashed on me. So I don't want, if it crashes on me now, at least I'll have a saved version where I'm at. So let's go and click on the door. And what's so important here is, before we do anything, is we got to make sure the pan from behind tool is moved. We're going to move that anchor point, so we've got to use that pan from behind tool. And oops, we don't want to move the door, okay? Hit the Y key to get the pan from behind tool. Now let's go to XYZ and just move this anchor point to the corner where the door meets the wall on the right side, okay? Now, let's click R, and we're going to be changing the y-axis, okay, on this. So let's hit the stopwatch, and then let's drag our timeout indicator forward. Let's say 10 seconds, let's say here. And we're going to swing that door open this way. Now I've got the spinning wheel of death. It just doesn't like doing this. And if that's the case, I'm going to stay here for just a second. I may have to restart this again. But this time, at least I've got a saved version. And I'm not going to get so upset. Okay. All right. Yeah, it just does not like it does not like it when I rotate that door. Every time it does that. So let's go, and I'm going to restart After Effects. I'm going to force quit it. We'll send a report to them. Okay. Now let's go and look at 3D Room on my desktop. We'll open up After Effects by double-clicking 3D Room 2. And it's going to be opening back up here. Yes, we'll continue on. And there we are. We're back where we started at, okay? Which is good. That's we didn't lose anything yet. So again, let's go down to the door. I think we're going to have to change the position of that anchor point. Yeah, I didn't auto-save that. Lovely. So let's go and get our pan from behind tool. And I'm so upset I didn't even use my keyboard shortcut to move that. Okay, let's move this down to where the door meets is at the end there. So it's good. So you see where I've got that. So it's going to swing open from this point here. Okay. All right. Now let's go and hit the R key. Click on the stopwatch for Y. Let's drag to 10 seconds. Let's hit Command S. So we'll save it. And now let's change the Y position on this. And we'll go this way. There we go. Good. Okay. And so now if we play this, this is what we'll get. Now, in my video, it goes out the door. I don't think I'll need to show that because I just end up moving the camera. But let's go to Comp 1 here. So what's interesting is in Comp 1, we get to see this thing. Now we're at a third of the resolution, so we still see that corner there. And you see the door open up, and we just haven't gone through it yet. Let's change let's just let that play out there. Let's change our resolution to full. And you can see how it's not moving yet because we haven't cut this down yet. There we go. So now it's going to be a little choppy. It's going to take its time to render out. And if we need to, we can move one of those walls. But basically, this is how you create a room. This is how you create your lights and your shadows and how you move your camera around, okay? And so this will complete this video. I just want to let this run out just a little bit more here. And what I did was I ended up trimming my video down to 12 seconds because I took the camera out the door and I figured that is long enough for this little animation here, okay? And that's it. So I hope this tutorial helps you out with building a room.